On the super review, let's take a look at the Dudios Zeus Ace True Wireless Earbuds. So over the past year, I've listened to a bunch of different true wireless earbuds, and one of the pairs that I keep going back to is actually one of the cheapest, and it's the Dudios Zeus Airs. Now Dudios has come out with a new pair, and they call these the Dudios Zeus Ace. They look a lot like the Airs, but they do seem to have a slightly different charging case and a much bigger battery. Let's go ahead and open up the box. We'll find out what you get inside the Dudios Zeus Ace, and then I'll spend some time living with these and comparing them directly to the Zeus Air. These things are $35. It's $5 more than the Airs, and we'll find out, is that $5 well spent? All right, so we got the Dudios Zeus Ace sitting here in a box, and you can do a quick tour to find out some things about it. One, this does have the same gold foil treatment that the Dudios Air has, and I find that promising. One of the claims here on the front is auto pairing, which is pretty standard for true wireless buds. But what's not necessarily standard is being able to do that reliably. And that's actually one of the reasons why I like the Dudios Airs so much, is they're super reliable. Hopefully the Ace is just as reliable. They do also claim to have an 800 milliamp hour battery, which is larger than what you get with the Air. I can't remember exactly what the size of the Air is, but that is larger. And I think that's just gonna mean that you get more charges out of a single charge on the case, if that makes sense. Around here on the back, let's see, true wireless, no boundaries, high fidelity sound, clear voice calling, long lasting playtime. What kind of playtime do they suggest? So they're claiming 4 hours of battery life on the buds, which is a step up. I think the Dudios Air are like around 3 hours. So that's a step up. But then they're also claiming 30 hours of total usage time, which is gonna include recharging the earbuds in this case. And that's actually kind of huge. 30 hours, that's like 8 charges per case. That's not bad at all. So let's go and open up and we'll find out what's inside. All right, so we got the Dudios Ace completely unboxed, and this is pretty familiar if you've unboxed the Dudios before. You do get some nice paperwork, including this little nicely transparent quick start guide. You also get a QR code with a Soundpeats logo on it, as if there was any doubt that Dudios and Soundpeats are related companies. They definitely are. A lot of the times these products are sold under both brands. I haven't detected really a big difference between them. But there you go. You do also get a cute little micro USB charging cable. And yes, that is still micro USB. You get 4 different sets of ear tips, including large, mediums, or maybe those are large, smalls, and you get mediums pre-installed. And then you get these really dinky tiny ones. You get this charging case, of course, which seems on first impression about the same size as the case with the Dudios Air. The big difference here is that you've got a lid that closes on top of it. That seems like a nice touch. And then you also get, of course, the buds, which these things seem to be exactly the same shape as the Dudios Air. And for me, that's a good thing. These things I found to be very comfortable. They're very small. They plug into my ears easily, and they're also easy to drop into the case, right? You saw how simple that is? Some true wireless buds, they're just a little bit more fiddly, and I never had any issue with the Dudios Air. That said, what's gonna be more important is how do these things function? So I'm gonna go ahead and spend some time living with these things, hook them up to my phone, and compare these things directly to the other Dudios, as well as some other true wireless buds, because, well, frankly, there's some good stuff out there on the market, and 35 bucks is a pretty good price, but it's not the best price. We'll find out, are these things worth it? Okay, let's talk about the Dudios Zeus Ace, which I've been living with for the past week and comparing directly to the previous generation, the Dudios Zeus Airs. And look, I've got, I don't know, like 10 different pairs of true wireless earbuds, and the ones that I keep going back to are the Dudios. And now these, the Ace, the Aces, AC, however you want to pluralize that, these are going to be the ones that I'm going to keep going back to. Like the Zeus Air, the Ace come in this little charging case that is pretty compact, not quite as compact as something like the AirPods. Okay, it's not even close to nearly as compact as the AirPods. The AirPods are still top in that category, but I think this case is still a pretty convenient size. Now, it is a little bit larger than the case that you get on the Airs, but in some ways it's actually just as pocketable, and I think it comes down to the fact that all of the edges on this thing are rounded, whereas on the Airs, there are some sharp corners that just makes it a little bit harder to get in and out of a tight pocket. So I didn't have any issues with it here, but it is worth taking into consideration that it is a little bit larger. I think the bigger issue for me is the fact that there's a lid on here, which is kind of a good thing, but also kind of a fiddly thing. So having a lid on this actually makes it so that it's a little bit more difficult to get access to the buds, if that makes sense. It just means that your angle of your fingers, right? If you're coming in this side, you've got all the angle in the world. If you're coming in this side, well, you don't have quite that angle. And that seems like a really nitpicky thing. In fact, that might seem like nothing to you if you haven't lived with any of these true wireless buds, but the fact that the Dudios Air don't have a lid on them actually made them one of the least fiddly true wireless buds that I've got. And well, we've got a lid here now, and it's pretty common, and it's gonna be good because it's gonna prevent dust from gathering inside this thing. But it does come at the expense of a little bit of convenience. And now, while the case is a little bit different than the Airs, the buds on the Ace is basically identical to the buds on the Airs. And for me, that's a good thing. Of all the true wireless buds that I've got, these are some of the best fitting ones. They're relatively small. They're not the smallest, but they're relatively small. They don't look silly in my head. They're comfortable to wear, and they actually do a pretty good job of noise isolation. About the only physical difference I can tell between the buds on the Ace versus the Airs is that the buttons on the Ace are actually a little bit easier to press. And that's kind of a good thing, and also kind of a bad thing. So the reason that it's good is that one of my issues that I had with the Dudios Ace is that when you have them in your ear and you go to push the button, you're essentially shoving this thing into your ear, right? So every time you activate the button, you're like, ow, ow, ow. It's not the most comfortable thing, and I found a way around it, but that is a minor concern with that headphone. And here, I don't have that issue. When I press the button on this thing, I'm not having to exert so much pressure that I'm actually pushing the earbud further into my ear. So that much is good. The reason that I'm not totally stoked about the change is that this button is now a lot easier to press by accident. Just if I happen to be fitting it in my ear and adjusting the fit, it's pretty common that I'm accidentally tapping that button. And now the good thing is the only thing it does is pause and play. So I'm not accidentally like skipping a track or doing anything drastic. But that is one trade-off with having, a button that's easier to press. That said, I still much prefer these to having tap controls like you get on AirPods or a lot of other true wireless buds. And as much as I was accidentally pressing this button, it's not nearly to the extent that I accidentally press buttons on touch control earbuds. Also, like the Dudios Airs, you don't have any access to volume controls with the Ace. You just have access to play, pause, and skip tracks if you do, I think, long presses. So that much is a little bit of a limitation. There are some true wireless buds that give you access to volume control, and it is nice to have. That said, just like the Airs, these things do a good job of noise isolation, so I'm not having to constantly adjust sound levels. One of the reasons I really like the Dudios Airs is the Bluetooth connection quality. It's just, I've never once had a single problem with the Bluetooth connection, and that is much more than I can say for almost every true wireless bud out there. The only thing that I've had that has performed as well are Apple AirPods, and those things cost $160. And the good news is with the Dudios Ace, I'm having the exact same success with the Bluetooth connection. These things are just really, really strong. You take them out of the case, they automatically pair every single time, zero problems. The Bluetooth range on these is pretty solid. I was able to get from this room out to my living room with like a couple of walls in between me before the connection started to break up. So I would say Bluetooth range is a little bit above average. And then the sound quality on these things is just a step above most things, all right? So the Dudios Airs, I like them for the convenience and the connection quality. Sound quality, they're pretty decent. Like they're kind of neutral-ish, flattish compared to a lot of other true wireless buds. A little bit less dynamic than some, but I like them. I think these things actually bring some of that dynamism from some of the other nicer sounding true wireless buds. And it makes this a really complete package. I think that you get a little bit sharper of a V compared to the Airs, but it's tasteful. It's not overdone. I don't think the treble is sharp, but these do sound a little bit brighter than the Airs. And the other major improvement in sound with these versus the Airs is in volume levels. So the Dudios Airs, my one caveat with recommending those is that they don't get super loud. And for me, it wasn't an issue because again, sound isolation on those is pretty solid. But these things get plenty loud. These things get way louder than the Airs. If that was an issue for you, they've solved it here with the Ace. If I were to rate these things out of 5 stars, these things are very, very easy 5 stars for me. At like $35, these are definitely my favorite budget true wireless buds. And in fact, look, these might be my favorite true wireless buds of everything that I've tried. I think these things sound better than AirPods, and they're not quite as convenient. They're definitely not as convenient as that small little package that you get with the AirPods. And they're also doing something a little bit different because these things will seal your ears. They block all outside sounds, and AirPods don't do that. And for some scenarios, I don't want that. But for times when I do, I think the Dudios Ace is actually better than the much more expensive AirPods. If you're interested in checking these things out, of course, I've got links in the description down below. While you're down there, you can hit the like button for the video if you liked it. You can subscribe to the channel, and then I'll see you on the next super review.